Black Souls is an eroge. If you don't know what that is, click off this video. Otherwise, viewer discretion is advised. This is also my second video in my Black Souls Experience series. The first one is linked to this one. Without further ado, here's the typical blind Black Souls 2 experience. After giving your name, choosing your class, which I mean, come on, Bloodborne dude all the way, right? And entering if you like engaging in two-player cardio or not, the game begins by asking you your favorite flavor of Alice. Daughter Alice, Emoto Alice, or MILF Alice. Now, those of you who are familiar with my Rune Factory work, you would probably assume that I'd pick MILF Alice, but like, hear me out. Emotos are based. Not only that, but Emoto Alice is the cutest of the three choices CG-wise. Anyway, I woke up and had a picnic with Alice. Unfortunately, Alice might have laced my food with chloroform, or she's just a shit cook, because I almost immediately passed out again after eating it. She even said the food was too strong, so yeah, let's just go with that. Instead of someone blowing up like in the first game, the whole world blows up this time. And suddenly, I wake up at the bottom of the crash chamber where the developer added a bunch of bloodstained messages to simulate an actual Souls experience. Really cool. Welcome to Wonderland. This is where Black Souls truly begins. After checking the door and not being able to leave, I ran around the room to get my cardio in. Turns out you just have to touch the door 3 times before a random dude falls from the heavens with the key. After using the key, I followed in his footsteps. Why am I back in the Wonderland library from the first game? Where's Alice 2.0? You know, the Alice that didn't drug me. That's an Alice I can trust. I proceeded to run around the library looking for a way out. There's a door on the top, but it's locked. There's a path on the way down full of prison cells, a locked door, and some items. Unfortunately, there wasn't an exit there either. Honestly, I got so lost that I almost thought I'd bugged the game somehow. However, I finally went back to the bonfire and realized I could just warp back to the crash chamber. Please understand that I have one brain cell that's constantly working overtime. After falling to my death once more because I thought I might be able to jump onto a platform with some armor on it, I climbed to the top of the crash chamber and wound up in the rabbit hole. I looted some corpses and found that I gained sanity from doing so. I also saw a rabbit eating the corpses and killed it, and then saw that my sanity went down, so I reloaded the game. I also found a door that loops back to my current location. Wonderland is weird. Continuing on, I found the first NPC of the game, the Cheshire Cat. Yes, that's how I'm pronouncing it, fight me. This is also where I'm introduced to the only meme I knew about this game coming in. I'm going to Alice. Did I say all lice? No, but the Cheshire Cat is insane, so we don't listen to her for now. She disappears, so I run off, but then she immediately shows back up, so I go and talk to her to get a ring. At least this time I know going into the game that I do have 4 ring slots, so that seems like the best choice to go with. I'm still bitter about that in Black Souls 1. I read a book in the rabbit hole and found out that the rabbits are basically the same rabbits from ReZero. Did the author write this journal while being devoured? I'm more impressed than scared, so I just continue on and find a fog wall. Time for the first boss. It's just a simple rabbit, so I kill it in 1 hit. And then it transforms. Yeah, the first boss in the game has 2 phases. Oh dear, this is going to be a much harder game than I was prepared for. It proceeded to maul me to death. There was a path that I noticed earlier before the boss, so I decided to go that way this time, and I fought a knight who had lost his head in the rapids. He dropped a master key. I went to the room behind him and found a glass bottle, but I decided to head back to the room next to the Cheshire Cat before doing anything else. I found more headless soldiers in this area as well. The guys here hit quite a bit harder than I was expecting, and I end up running from subsequent battles like a pansy. I found a new bonfire and a black rabbit NPC near it. Is this the black rabbit from Alice's hairpiece? I don't know, but looks like he has some plotline I should follow, so I'm going to Alice him, and he told me to Leroy Jenkins my way through Wonderland instead of actually thinking and overanalyzing things. So that's what I decided to do. I immediately died to a Dullahan. Back on the warpath, I find a message warning me of a hidden pathway, and I end up finding 2 hidden rooms inside of bust statues. I fought the first real boss of Demon Souls and died in 1 hit. There's no rabbits along this pathway according to this node, which is good for me because that first boss destroyed me. I continued on and found myself in a typical Californian forest. While here, I found a note that warned me of an item behind a lava waterfall and got the folktale of Jeanne d'Arc. Man, I'm glad I got this now instead of having to kill her again. That was rough my first time. I don't know if I'd be able to handle killing her a second. I wonder when I'll meet up with her in this game. Anyway, I got killed by what I imagined Lewis Carroll thought a shoeville was and went back to the crash chamber. At least I stood a chance against the rabbits. So, this battle is where I learned what parrying was, and that using items on myself doesn't actually take an action. Skills are also on cooldowns instead of just using MP. The systems in this game are highly expanded compared to the original, though don't expect anything too fancy until we get to the DLC. I won the battle and got the soul of the boss. Then I saw the rabbit outside the boss room was breakdancing, so I went to go talk to him. I thought I was making that up, but no, he actually was dancing. After leaving the boss arena, I end up in a decrepit city with blood lining the streets and a bunch of men who have been stabbed to death, i.e., London. Also, there's a weird harpy woman who flew off north, but she didn't seem too important right now and had more pressing matters at hand, such as this demon beast that showed up, and how Sherlock Holmes is a furry. Holmes gives me some free healings, and then I IGTA'd him. He told me to go ask someone at the tavern about her and told me to watch out for Jack the Ripper. The notes in the ground simultaneously told me to treasure this man, but to also kill him. While it is tempting to hunt furries, I decided against it since it might prematurely end his questline. Upon finding a bonfire, I see the Cheshire Cat again and speak to her. Guess she's the leaf of this game. Her words kind of seem random, so I ignore them and go back to the library. Here, I'm introduced to our first waifu, Node. She's a cute white rabbit who seemingly will do whatever she can to help and satisfy us. Sounds a lot like Alice 2.0 from the first game. She then warns us of 4 nightmares that we need to be careful of in Wonderland. The frumious Bandersnatch, the mad bird Jubjub, the corpse dragon Jabberwock, and the Queen of the Heart. I know I fought Bandersnatch in the first game and was mercilessly killed, so I guess that's my new goal for now. However, I'm way too weak for that at present. After this conversation, I leveled up a node and went downstairs. One of the paths that was blocked earlier is now open, and I was able to unlock the locked door as well. The locked door led me to a place called the Chaos Dungeon, where I met someone who is tied for best waifu in all of Black Souls, Mabel. Of course, we won't be getting into why she's so good in this video, but remember, Mabel is love, Mabel is life. Mabel tells us that our Alice isn't there, so we Alice her instead. She then blinks out of existence. So I had no idea that this was DLC 2. As such, I went around collecting a bunch of items from chests and then left the dungeon after delving down 3 layers. I did pick up a couple of pieces of equipment, but nothing game-breaking. I went back to Node and entered into a covenant with her. Surprisingly, entering into covenants in this game does not force me to enter the NPC in question, so that's cool. I went to the other path that was no longer blocked in the jail cell area of the library and found the fairy tale archive, as well as a madness spirit. I obtained the fairy tale rascal after the fight and put up both of the fairy tales I had. After that, I bought a rabbit key with some candy and went back to the rabbit hole. Turns out the Wonderland rabbits are way too fast for me to kill, so I reloaded and ended up never coming back here for the rest of the game, so that was a waste of candy, but oh well. I got invaded by Ketch the Executioner and killed him as well. The invasion mechanic is really cool in this game, very similar to Dark Souls. When you're not hollow, you may be invaded by other NPCs. Anyway, after burying this bovine, I went back to Node and kissed her. Apparently kissing increases your sanity. So I increased our covenant level and saw that it increases my HP by 35% and doubles the recovery I get from items. After this, I returned to Lutwich Town, and made actual game progress. Technically I'd been making progress this entire time, but I just hadn't realized it yet. Anyway, my progress was cut short as I got killed by a random enemy who kidnapped me and brought me to a slaughterhouse. Man, this game's just like Bloodborne. I didn't last long, as I was immediately killed by a centipede with a doge head on it. Going past the kidnapper, I was given the best advice I've ever received from the game. Be wary of women. Ahead. Unfortunately, on my way out, I got kidnapped again. I made a lot more progress with the slaughterhouse this time, and even found a bonfire in a freezer. Also, the Cheshire Cat, who I can only describe as being on some heavy illicit substances, and the rabbit Knight Vernai, whom I met in the rabbit hole earlier. Heading south, I ended up in the Wuhan fish market and contracted COVID. So I went back to Lutwich Town and found a mental ward. They only allow patients in, so I slammed the door shut a million times until the doctors interned me for OCD treatments. This is probably the only part of the main game that is actually a fucking horror game. I don't think it's that scary myself, but definitely could see how it would screw around with some people. Also, I saw 2 apparitions who vanished once I got too close to them. After spending way too long navigating the mental ward, I eventually did find where they were and spoke to them. Say hello to Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They are receiving treatment in the mental ward for Uriism. Unfortunately, Tweedledum is a lost cause, but with your help, there is still hope for Tweedledee. That won't be for much later though. For now, they tell me that they understand why the nurses brought me to the mental ward, as I'm apparently mentally retarded to search for a non-disabled girl at a mental ward. Joke's on them though, that's where I meet all my dates. I took my souls back to Node to level up and saw that upgrading my covenant unlocked some new extracurricular activities with her, so I decided to have Node massage me with her nodes to increase my sanity enough so that I would no longer need the mental ward. Alice, forgive me. By doing this, I finally could use my black souls I had accumulated, as Node's massages negated the drop in Sen from doing so. I had no idea what Sen did at this point and figured that saying hi was pretty important. I was right, but for completely different reasons than I thought. Warping back into town, I ended up finding the sewers and traveling through them. Upon leaving them, I found Brothel Street and Griffin Knight Griffey. Now this is where I'd like to tell you I started doing her questline, but I was too busy looking at the shiny new area I unlocked and went around exploring the other parts first. I completely forgot about her and never spoke to her again in this playthrough. Instead, I found a park of fog that warps me whenever I stray too far from the light posts. The Cheshire Cat also shows up here and pulls a hilarious prank that I won't spoil for you. Afterwards, she gives you her ring that prevents you from taking damage for falling. I then tried proceeding through the park, but failed so many times that I gave up and went back into town to the bonfire and warped to the fish market and fought the boss there. He destroyed me. This far into the game, and I've only defeated a single boss. Well, that's fine. These enemies seemed harder than Lutwich Town, so I decided to go back to the mental ward and try my hand at the boss there. Going through a hallway with some weird glitching effect, I eventually do find the boss, but she kills me because of how fast she is. I tried multiple times, but her speed wasn't something I can contend with my current build. I went back through Lutwich and finally found a place to drown my sorrows at. I also found a bunny girl who knew about Alice and told me to meet her at her house in Brothel Street. Finally, someone who can help me locate my beloved Emoto. Also, I found a chicken-headed duck man waiting for me at the counter. He introduces us to his favorite recipes, and then I speak to an insect man who looks like he belongs more in Star Wars or something. Insect Bro tells us that Alice ran across the bridge to the west after he tried teaching her what Meryphillia was. While I did speak to the rest of the clientele here, no one else really mattered. I went westward toward where Alice ran off to, and finally found a new boss that I could actually defeat. In fact, he was extremely easy. I finally found out where the game wanted me to go, so I can finally make progress at last. At a bonfire just across the bridge, I find the Cheshire Cat and the Sleeping Pumpkin Man. I talk to both and get a couple items, but then I head back into town to talk to that Tavern bunny girl at her house. As it turns out, she will only tell us about Alice if we engage in some furry roleplay. I am appalled by such things, and proceeded to play Smash Brothers with her. She then tells us that she doesn't know anything about Alice. After correcting her, I leave her house. Wasting my bloody time. I went back to the little cemetery bonfire. North of the bonfire was a cathedral. I found the bonfire there, spoke to the Cheshire Cat again, who says a bunch of random nonsense, or so I thought, as I never finished this area through my playthrough, and then traveled to the basement of the cathedral where I killed a Hydra and pulled a lever. When I came back up, I accidentally ran off the side of the upper level. Remember kids, it's rude to run indoors. After reviving, I somehow missed the obvious big gaping hole in the sanctuary of the cathedral, so I ended up trying to enter the Garden of Heart, but then I was turned away by some soldiers. I returned to the little cemetery bonfire and went west where I found a pond of bloody tears and a cute bird brain. Dodo was adorable. Really like her. Unfortunately, I had no idea that you had to leave the area and come back to speak with her to unlock the ability to sprint, so I completely missed that this playthrough. Really wish I had it though, but oh well. I guess it's hard to regret something you've never experienced. There is a dungeon in the pond that has a bunch of torture machines and headless people. One of my companions from Black Souls 1 would love this place. I should bring her here when she finally reunites with me. Using a master key I had on hand, I found a room with Bluebeard in it. While his buffs were a bit ridiculous, I still managed to defeat him and get his fairy tale. I also got the Ring of the Iron Maiden, which I believe you get from the bitch in Black Souls 1. Upon leaving the cave, I found a bonfire and the Cheshire Cat again, who refers to Dodo as the smug titty bird, which I will refer to her as from now on. Continuing on, I found the Spore Forest and bonfire, but before continuing in this new area, I decided to go back as I wanted to clear that area before progressing to this new area. Instead, I found a massive lake of blood with a fog gate at the bottom of the stairs and... Wait, no. Don't tell me. Do you not reunite with your companions from Black Souls 1 in this game? Why am I fighting the bitch? Is everyone dead? Oh, please tell me I'm wrong. Like, I know that Mary Sue kills them in the Baphomet ending, and I guess I killed them in the Mary Sue ending, but... No, I guess that does make sense then. My friends are all dead, aren't they? They're not coming back. Honestly, that hurt a lot more than the bitch's attacks did. I mean, she still killed me, but seriously, you have no idea how depressed I was upon discovering that everyone really is dead from Black Souls 1. After reviving at the bonfire, I went back to the Spore Forest and spoke to the Cheshire Cat, who tells me of a bong-smoking caterpillar who I tried to locate but decided to go to the rest of the dungeon first since I felt like that might be the way I was supposed to go. Spoiler alert, that was not the way I was supposed to go, and I ended up completely forgetting about that pathway until my next playthrough. I'm just screwing up left and right this time, but that's fine. This is a blind playthrough experience of Black Souls 2. This is how it should be. I found a mushroom village that had its own bonfire. The Cheshire Cat tells me about the carpenter and the walrus. I haven't seen either of the Alice in Wonderland movies in over a decade, so some of the names sound familiar, but I don't really remember them. Anyway, this village is shit, as I got beheaded by a clothesline. I also couldn't figure out what to do here, and was very concerned that I was missing something, but eventually had to leave as I spent way too much time not making any progress here. I warped back to the beginning of the Spore Forest and went west. There was a boss fight here, and I saw that I could summon help for this fight, so I did. I also saw the Pumpkin Knight from earlier and spoke to him. He then joins us for this next boss fight. Apparently summoning the knight in armor for help caused me to get his fairy tale after the battle. Does this mean that I'm supposed to summon at every boss fight that it lets me? Whoops, I definitely messed that up. Well, that's what New Game Plus is for, right? Continuing onward, I found the chicken head man from the tavern waiting outside the mansion. He apparently came to this place so that the duchess of the mansion would eat him. Man, this game's just hitting all kinds of fetishes. You got insects, furries, and now vor. What's next? NTR? Anyway, I went inside the mansion and got bodied by a butler who invaded me, so I went back to the mental ward to fight the boss there. I summoned the Iron Hans to this boss fight, and Edith killed him in one hit. But at least he did do his job first. I defeated Edith and got her ring. I also got the fairy tale of the Iron Hans. A note also appeared after the boss fight telling me that the road to Oxford is now opened. No idea what that is, but I decided to go see the Tweedle twins, at which I'm introduced to them doing some hot Yuri kissing. Not my fetish, but I did decide to make a covenant with them. Tweedledum is against the idea, but D is not. So I form a covenant with them, which gives me the ability to escape from battles with 100% success since I upgraded them to max. They also mentioned the carpenter and the walrus. Who the fuck are they? And before you ask, no, I did not engage in any other activities with the tweens. This playthrough. So yeah, that foreshadowing from earlier is moot until the next video. After the mental ward, I went back to the mansion, died to the butler again, and decided not to restore my humanity this time and just progress through the mansion proper. Here, I found the most obvious mimic of all time, an empty room with literally nothing in it, and then got to where the paths diverged. I could either go to the basement or to the top of the mansion. I went up, which I think was the right call as I found another bonfire and the Cheshire Cat who told me that all cats are nekogakis. Just past the bonfire, I saw a bunch of boss gates, so I decided to go to the basement to make sure I didn't miss something there first. This place makes you use 3 master keys to even access, but once you get to the bottom, you find the infinite food, which is sleeping. What the fuck is this? After entering the infinite food, I found a bunch of ladders and accidentally almost fell to my death. Luckily, I was wearing the Cheshire Cat ring. Yeah, I might keep this on the whole game if this becomes a common occurrence. The Pumpkin Knight from earlier apparently has a home inside this dungeon, which I'm pretty sure is in the stomach of some eldritch horror, but I guess I shouldn't question things in Wonderland. Anyway, he gives us words of encouragement for finding Alice. This guy is probably the best NPC so far. I would say Node, but something seems off about her. She spreads her legs way too easily, maybe because she's a rabbit. Is that racist? Regardless, Pumpkin Bro is best boy at the very least. He also has a cauldron at the top floor where you can purchase more herb flasks, so I bought a few and went on my way through the rest of the dungeon. The boss of this dungeon was a pregnant cake. How was pregnant cake formed? No clue, but it was a simple boss which exploded into a bunch of baby cakes. Now I'm no baker, so if they were expecting to get bread, they came to the wrong place. Their mother had more experience in that regard, so I sent them home to her. With that, this dungeon was finished, so I went back to the mansion and went through the boss gate there. I tried to Alice the Duchess, but she wasn't having it. After dying, I decided not to Alice her instead, and we actually ended up avoiding the fight completely. I just had to give her a pepper and some meat, no not mine, and she was satisfied. A couple of NPCs have mentioned some terrifyingly evil Red Queen, and this woman suggests that Alice is heading towards her domain in Queensland. The Duchess tells us that the path to Australia lies to the lowest layer of the Pond of Bloody Tears, which I guess is this world's version of the Pacific Ocean. So I guess that means I need to go kill the bitch. Still too weak for that, so instead I went back to the Park of Fog in Lutwidge. This time I actually was able to make it through all the way. In Upper Lutwidge town there was a sign warning about Jack the Ripper, which I recalled Holmes warning me about when I first got here. I found a house that I could enter and found a talking wolf demon behind some cloth that dropped the fairy tale of the boy who cried wolf. There was also a bonfire here, so that was nice. It wasn't too long before I found a fog wall and watched a prostitute get taken out by Detective Holmes, who was apparently Jack the Ripper. That checks out. The fight wasn't too difficult, and so I continued north to a new area, Oxford University. I had to equip the ring I got from the mental ward boss fight to continue on through this place, but first, I found an elevator to the right of this place, so I went down there. Here, I found a nice Christmas village. I was afraid of going too far here without fully exploring the university, so I went back there. To the left of the university's entrance was another bonfire, and the Cheshire Cat, who tells me that sanity and madness aren't really all that different. Honestly, I'm not even going to disagree with that. Wonderland is far more insane than the world that Mary Sue created. I went through the gates of Oxford University and wandered around the campus grounds. I found a telescope, but I couldn't figure out what to do here, so I just ignored it and made my way indoors. The school is full of a bunch of schoolgirl zombie Alices, or allies, or whatever the plural of Alice is. Anyway, despite saying that I'd keep the Cheshire Cat ring on, I apparently swapped it out for something without realizing it and fell to my death. So I went back to the Carroll River and found a bonfire there with the Cheshire Cat talking about the Jabberwocky. I guess my first of the big four is going to be here. There was also some random underground prison cell next to the bonfire, but I couldn't understand why this place existed as there didn't seem to be anything important here. I ended up going back to Oxford University as the river seemed like the place where I was supposed to go. While here, I found a library and— Alice, come to me! What the fuck is that name? After finishing off the Vagina Dentata, I found a doll Alice. Is this 2.0 from Black Souls 1? She looks different, but 2.0 was a doll too, right? It didn't say anything though, so I just leave without doing anything with it. I had opened a hidden entrance here, so with that, I was able to find the boss of the university. I also decided to summon help from the book here, and— Catherine? This one is not quite the same from the last game, so that's a bit sad. I was hoping for her to say something to Grim, but that wasn't meant to be. Our Catherine is gone. After killing the dean, I went through the door at the back of the room and— Wait, the tea party? Alice 2.0, I'm back! Oh. Back at the library dream, Node was missing from her usual spot. She was standing in front of the door to the north of the room and told me a cat carrying the body of a young blonde girl entered not too long ago. Taking a step inside, a note tells me to create a separate save. Yeah, I've somehow unlocked the ending already. Running through an infinitely looping staircase, I ended up in the cosmos that somehow led to a child's room. The Cheshire Cat is in this room and tells me that she died in childbirth and remembers Alice as a little girl. Then she tells us she will await us through the doors. I entered through the doors and found my beloved Emoto, and then got disemboweled by a cat demon beast. Didn't even get a hit in, so yeah, let's not do the ending yet. Back at the endless tea party, I proceeded up the clock tower. The BGM is super snazzy here too. Unfortunately, I suck at these time-based puzzles and died immediately because I didn't realize that a spiky gear cutting my body in half would probably hurt a bit. Anyway, after coming to that realization, it didn't take too long to get to the next boss. However, it was weird that the Cheshire Cat wasn't here. I reloaded after dying to what I assumed was the Demon Beast Cheshire Cat, so that cutscene from earlier shouldn't have affected anything. Oh well, I guess she just doesn't appear here. Anyway, the boss here flashbanged me and I proceeded to kick its ass despite not being able to see it. Going up the clock tower even further, I managed to get through a puzzle a lot faster than I think I was supposed to and then ended up unsticking a troll who I accidentally killed. A note on the floor here told me to beware of betrayal ahead and I proceeded to summon Peter Pan. I think I see where this is going. Upon entering the boss arena, I am completely confused as she is nowhere to be found. There's a whole bunch of messages that warn me of how much I really need to make sure I kill the boss here, but I just couldn't find her. I ran all around the room and only triggered the fight by accident as only this specific square seems to spawn in the boss. Anyway, the mad bird Jubjub is the fight here. I cannot show her because she shows full frontal nudity, but basically Peter Pan betrays me. Big surprise, I know. Unfortunately, she immediately killed me too, so I seemed to be a bit too weak for her. I did try several times, but like the behemoth from Black Souls 1, I just didn't see a way to defeat her. She causes madness, which decreases my HP by half every turn, and I just didn't have enough sedatives to last the whole fight. Some of you are probably frustrated with that last statement, but please understand, this was a completely blind playthrough, so I just didn't know at this point. I got super close to killing her once, but she ended up one-shotting me even without the madness. Instead, I decided to come back later. I went back to the mental ward to speak to the tweens. If you want to know why I did, I don't know. I was just watching my footage, and I could not for the life of me remember why I came back here. I think I noticed earlier that my covenant with them was gone or something, but I didn't see it in the footage, so yeah, that's my baseless assumption. Anyway, I got back, and Tweedledum had eaten her sister. Because that's what siblings do to each other, I guess. I killed her in response. She didn't seem to like me very much though, so it's not like I was emotionally attached, but still, kind of a bummer. At least I still have Node's covenant. After that, I went back to the fish market to finish that area. I guess Bafo-sama had resurrected Sinbad when I wasn't looking, as I could summon him to this boss fight. Anyway, this boss was incredibly easy, and I continued on to the next area, the Beach of Grief. I found a hidden path thanks to a message and was invaded by a cannibal. Continuing further inward, there was a message about a girl being inside of a cave. My love for waifus can't be satiated, so I went in to check it out, and... wait, I recognize this soundtrack. I recognize that woman! Meryphillia? Not Miranda? What's going on here? She killed me in one hit. Several grueling fights later, and I was able to finally find a strategy that led me to victory. I wasn't about to give up after finally finding one of my old companions. She apparently didn't recognize me at first, but through our fight, she remembered. She's cuter here than I remember her being. Apparently things are too risky in Wonderland, so she's hiding out in this cave so that she won't try erasing her again. While I'm not sure who she is, my assumption is Leaf. I mean, fairies can die, right? So is Mary Sue fucking with me again? That sounds about right. Anyway, I made love to Meryphillia, whatever her name is. North of the beach bonfire, I found a cabin and a turtle girl who performed Tsujigiri on her own chest. She also poisoned the one she loved with mercury according to the note she left behind. Someone named Griffey. Completely forgot who that was, so I just left and went under the sea. I'll skip most of the details as I ended up not completing this area, as everyone here was insanely powerful, but I did find a sword that had a 30% chance of giving me an extra action per turn. Sounds useful, but I bet I need to upgrade it before I can make any real use of it. I'll stick it with my verbal sword for now. I also found a Ring of the Reaper, which increased my attack by 50%. However, anyone who knows what area I'm currently in knows fully well that even with that, I'm not going to be able to do any damage to the bosses here. Anyway, I have no idea what's going on. There was one boss who immediately exploded to reveal another boss inside her, screaming at her about things that I think she assumed I was aware of. But I wasn't. No idea who either of these are. So anyway, I got killed and then ran past them after reloading and got to the next area since you apparently don't have to fight them. I found a new bonfire and then teleported to Rabbit Hole to go explore the areas I didn't earlier at the beginning of the game. I grabbed the Drink Me model, which shrank me, and then I ran through a hole in the wall, and ended up in the Pond of Bloody Tears. Like what the fuck? I literally could come here at the beginning of the game? Why? There's no way I'd be strong enough for this. Oh well, I decided to go and fight the bitch again as I'm much stronger now and finally go to the land down under. I think she was supposed to transform at some point because there was a graphical indication of such and the BGM changed, but then she immediately died before actually doing so. So I'm not sure what just happened. Anyway, I found a forest here and a bonfire. So I warped back to the Rabbit Hole bonfire and went through the lava forest from the beginning of the game this time. Not too far in, I found a boss room as well as a summon sign for Robin Hood. There was a message that told me to use an undead pepper, so I did and completely avoided a boss fight here by doing so. However, I wanted to fight the boss, so I resummoned Robin Hood and proceeded to trigger the boss fight. And it's over. I win. Yatta. Okay, yeah, this kinda made me laugh. I like Bandersnatch. She's cute and tan, and a monster girl. Such a great waifu. Man, I wish women were real. She also has the best covenant in the game. Yeah, she doesn't actually die when you kill her. She tells you about how she saw Alice get killed despite it being her duty to protect her and had an autistic meltdown about it. Like I said, best girl. Wait, where was I? Oh right, her covenant. It increases your attack and counterattack chance by 10%. Not very good at face value. However, using the souls you get from beating her, your attack is increased by a further 50%, which stacks with the Ring of the Reaper from earlier. It is time to break the game. I went from like 1100 attack to almost 3000. Yeah, the second 50% applies after the first one gets applied. Anyway, while I did make love to Bandersnatch on her account being prime waifu material, the 8 scenes in both Black Souls games don't really invoke a response with me, even when someone ticks as many boxes as Bandersnatch. She also bet off my dick. Past the Bandersnatch arena, I found an elevator that takes me to the fish market. There was also some immortal monkey that ran off after I tried to kill him too many times. I found him close to a bonfire and realized he talks awfully similar to a certain other VTuber that's played Black Souls. I wasn't sure where he ran off to after this, so I went through the slaughterhouse to search for him and found that one chicken head man from earlier. I thought he wanted to feed me fried chicken, but turned out it was fire chicken and killed me in one hit. After several attempts, I did finally defeat him. Turns out, one of the madness spirits from earlier dropped a ring that increases all my parameters at the start of the battle. Also, I discovered that I had an item that invokes madness. In myself. I had no idea why I'd want to do that to myself, but there must be some purpose to it, and as it turns out, there is. Ingesting insane amounts of alcohol apparently not only gives you madness, but madness also doubles your attack. So yes, it decreases my HP by half every turn, but it can't kill me. So, all I have to do is heal every turn and I can literally just bonk everything to death. So yeah, after this fight, I went back and bought as much meat from the Tavern in Lutwidge as I could. Also, for some reason all the clientele were now dead except the grasshopper. Like seriously. Even after getting all the game's endings, I still have no idea who this guy is and why he's the only one still alive here. After forsaking my sobriety, I went back to the Cathedral near Little Cemetery to kill those soldiers who were preventing me from entering the Garden of Heart from earlier. No idea why I lost scent from killing them, but whatever. Navigating through the garden, I ended up at the Queen of Hearts Castle, which is apparently called Red Castle Friesel. I thought the Red Queen was in Queensland, so now I'm just confused. Continuing on, I found that one boss fight from Dark Souls 2. The one with the chariot running around a room where you had to hide in wall inlets to prevent from losing a foot off your height. Apparently, you actually have to be in the inlet at least 2 tiles because if you're right at the edge, it counts as you being in the way of the chariot, and you die. The biggest obstacle here is actually the webs on the ground which slow you down substantially if you run over them. Passing through the rest of the castle, I finally found the Queen of Hearts and I'm going to oust her. She demanded my head for such insolence. After all, you're not supposed to mention another woman's name while engaging with a different one. I summoned the donkey-eared king for this fight so that I could get his fairy tale, but I'm so strong at this point that there wasn't really a need other than that. Anyway, I spoke to the Queen of the Heart, Lorina, who told me that she executed Alice. She then late 2000 shit-talked me and told me not to touch her as that would be unfair and rude, which for some reason made me laugh and I'm not too sure why. She then gives me a ton of buffs and allows me to covenant her. It increases your elemental resistances. Not better than Bandersnatch, but I like Lorina regardless. She's cute. I didn't have the souls to max her covenant, so I went back to the clock tower to kill Jubjub. I summoned Peter Pan again, as I was confident I could win this time with my new battle strategy. I also realized that Jubjub was using this strategy too. Well, let's see who's more insane than the other. Too easy. She allows me to enter into a covenant with her. She also laughs at how everyone has succumbed to madness by now and thinks it's hilarious. She also says that she often flies through the skies and likes to destroy the minds of the inferior and composes songs. Then makes some offhanded comment about how it's not like her music would drive me mad. Had I actually done more NPC quests than just the Tweedle twins, I probably would have understood what this game was telling me here. But yes, the game is inadvertently telling you that she's the one that drove Tweedledum to eat her sister. She's also the one who caused Turtle to poison Griffey and to end up like she did. Apparently this doesn't affect every NPC, as Bandersnatch, the Cheshire Cat, and Lorina are all fine. But there are other NPCs that I know would have been affected that I just didn't meet this playthrough or whose storylines I never completed. After this revelation, I went back to Lorina and saw her jump for joy at the top of her castle as I entered the main gate. Like I said, Lorina is super cute. I was able to max out her covenant and definitely did nothing else to her while I was here. After leaving her, I ran all around Wonderland trying to make sure I finished every area I've been to before continuing on. At this point, I remembered killing the bitch earlier but never really explored the forest after her boss fight. I traveled through the forest and finally found myself at the train station Hanover. Now, I'm no expert in geography, but I'm fairly certain you can't get to Australia via train from Germany, but wait. No. Did they get confused? Oh well, another bonfire later and a short walk upward will answer the question for me. Victoria? Is that you? Why don't you recognize me? Yes, of course. Let us consummate our reunion, even if you don't remember me. You can suck as many souls out of me as you want. I had a fucking battle with Victoria. Oh wait, no, I misread my script. I had a battle fuck with Victoria. Also, love this fight. It's like one of those terrible RPG Maker Nukege that have no actual substance to them, but it worked for Victoria thanks to what she is, who she is. I can't share the whole fight as it gets extremely not safe for work, but the fight has multiple stages and even changes to a super serious BGM during the climax. After the battle, she takes 50,000 of my souls. By killing me. Upon respawning, she's gone. I was hoping she'd join my party, but unfortunately that wasn't meant to be. I spoke to the conductor of the train who I should have recognized, but I did not. I showed him my ticket and made my way to Queensland. Queensland, according to the in-game description, is an adult amusement park ruled by the Red Idol. Wait, Idol? Is she a VTuber? I did run around all the attractions here, but what I want to focus on is the Queen's Castle. The Red Queen has immaculate taste as she has turned the entire castle into a casino full of poker tables, billiards, and clowns. One of the clowns also tells me that this place originally belonged to the White Queen, the first time I've heard about her. Apparently, it was originally an ocean that was filled with this amusement park by the Red Queen. Oh, also, Winnie the Pooh is here. I killed him. One of the paths on the backside of the castle leads you to the Chaos Dungeon. That means it loops directly to the Library Dream. I have no idea what the implication of this is, but after speaking to Node, I went back to the castle and ran through the other side. After killing Lady Dimitrescu, I found the most terrifying person in the game. A J-pop idol. Her name is Prickett. I have heard so many stories of her. She's got to be the most wicked of villains. What's this? How strange. This is supposed to be a no-entry room, Could it be? Are you one of Prickett's fans? Oh dear, she refers to herself in the third person. Also, why can't I Alice this woman? Definitely something sketchy going on here. Really? Glad to hear. Prickett originally lived in the cosmos, but because of some stuff, I fell onto this planet. I put my hope for this new and strange world and my maiden's romance into my songs. Did my emotions reach you? If you have someone you hold dear, cherish and never forget about them, okay? This woman is way too fucking pleasant. I don't trust her. Clearly, this is just an act. She's going to stab me as soon as I drop my guard. I will die for sure. Until death do us part, there's nothing as noble as loving. Girls are beings who believe in their prince's existence. Epsilon, how long have you been alone? Please don't fucking ask me that. You need to quickly find your destined girl. You sound just like my parents, just much more energetic about it. Game is literally giving me psychic damage. Anyway, where's Alice? Have you looked through every nook and cranny of Wonderland? There must be a place you still haven't visited, isn't that right? It's a special theme park prepared with lots of effort just for you. What are you talking about? Alice is an amusement park? Since when? I'm so confused now. How did we end up on the subject? Oh right, almost forgot to tell you something important. The girl that wanted to meet with you is waiting in the next room. Go give her your love. Wait, that fucking laugh. Are you a leaf? Do I need to strangle you again? No, seriously, what was that about? Where's Alice? No, Prickett is an ordinary idol. Alice must have been changed from Mabel. What are you saying? Why are you bringing the Black Alice girl from the Chaos Dungeon into this? It can't be helped. Okay, I'll stop reading her dialogue. Prickett is insane and nothing she says makes sense. She is also one of the most honest NPCs in the game. I made a covenant with her because why not? During this process, she does mention that she's the second generation Red Queen. No idea what that means, but the next part of her dialogue makes me think that she's probably referring to Mary Sue. She also says something weird about sane being the flip side of insane, and how she wants to make a smile epidemic through song. So, is she Jubjub 2.0? Or like, the opposite? Anyway, she asked me for a date, but I wasn't ready for that level of commitment and declined, only to immediately ask her for a date myself. A man's gotta take the lead, you see. First, I took her to get some food from Pennywise and fed her some frog eggs. Using her cleavage as a cup holder, she greedily sucks away at the tea while commenting how serious I am and that I should give up on my search for my precious Emoto and hide away somewhere. Of course, I can never do that. I have to find Alice. There's no way Prickett could replace our precious Alice like that. Or Mabel, who I literally know nothing about, but Prickett name drops her again. She cuts her talk off a bit short and we go to the next attraction. We watched a puppet show where I had to guess who would win this duel. After guessing correctly, I'm congratulated with a Tasfantic and we continue on to a haunted house. For some reason, Prickett didn't come in with me and I end up going through the maze all by my lonesome. Prickett pops up after exiting the maze asking if it was scary having to go through it in total isolation. I feel like it's a waste of time to go through a date attraction without my date, but we still have the other half of the part to make up for it. I'm only mentioning this waste of time now because it'll come back up again in one of my future videos. On the way to the other side, I found out that I could talk to Prickett while walking with her, and she talks about a whole bunch of random things. Things like how there's an attraction in Queensland called the Chaos Dungeon, like how Alice looked for a pure love for a very, very long time before falling for me. Like how someone named Maymay is a crybaby and sucks at chess, but that Prickett lost intentionally to her because she felt bad, and then Maymay become a Mesugaki as a result. And like how she told me not to get too cozy with the White Rabbit. Prickett is way too nice, so I grabbed her ass. I also made love to her, during which she dropped some major bombshell lore implications, but does so in a way that I did not take her seriously. I would show you, but then YouTube would ban me, so I shall refrain. Instead, we went to a circus to watch a movie, so I decided to watch The Tea Party for 3, and the game crashed. Yeah, let's redo that, shall we? I hadn't saved while on the date, so I had to redo the whole thing. I chose the same dialogue options as I wasn't sure if it would cause any differences in how this event played out, and wanted to make sure I committed to my initial decisions. I even tried talking to her some more, which resulted in some extra dialogue. Normally, I should have gotten bored sometime while observing. It was simple curiosity, a flight of fancy, so to speak. And by the time I realized it, I was caught in your dream. Couldn't think of anything but you. I love you so much. I don't know how to deal with this emotion. I know that even should I completely turn into the little girl, this love wouldn't last forever. And yet, I dreaded a day would come when you, my love, would be bound and ruled by force. I'm just a coward who can't step away and bid farewell. In the shadow of the tea party, I was only thinking, what do I do to wake up from this dream? If only someone could come to end it, I thought, and it was over. My soul was torn out by these women, and this is how I fell. Laughable, isn't it? Comical. I didn't deserve to have the form of the little girl who loves you. But it's fine now. You have forgotten me. I'm happy to hear even empty whispers of love. The best one for you was still Alice, right? So love her deeply, with your very heart, devote your soul to her, and accept all. She's the only one who can be by your side at the end of your life, after all. What's the matter, Grim? Did you like this poem? It's Prickett's favorite love romance. I'll end it to you next time. I give it 3 stars. I've decided that this woman is insane and wants to take my Alice from me. Or me from my Alice. We continued to the theater. I chose the same movie, and this time it actually worked, and told the story of how the tea party came to be. The tea party for 3. Every day, the 3 would gather around a table and drink tea. The curious little Alice, the sharp-tongued black rabbit, and the newcomer. The last 2 often got into arguments, but their quarrels led them to strengthen their friendship. As long as the 3 were together, they could conquer any peril that Wonderland would face. The Jabberwock, the Red Queen, anything. Except, Alice and the newcomer fell in love. Even if I disappear somewhere far, far away, would you come to find me? Of course, it's a promise. While exchanging vows, however, the 2 were being observed by the 3rd. This man chose to keep our Alice all to himself. Oh God, I have but one wish. The Black Rabbit prayed, and before he knew it, he brought a permanent end to the tea party of 3. The end. For some reason, the story was emotionally moving for Prickett. She claims not to understand why she's crying, and we don't pry any further. That said, apparently the Red Queen is a threat to Wonderland, and she is the Red Queen, right? Well, the 2nd generation anyway. Not sure if she's the one from the movie or not. I decided I wanted to see the other movies, but you can only watch 1 per date, so I had to go back and ask Prickett for another 2 dates. Violence Demon Victoria was a film about a succubus with an illness. No matter how hard she tries, she succumbs to violence every time she feeds. Isolation Room's Neighbor was about a man in a mental ward with a burning fury against the women of the night, spreading filth and disease throughout the city. However, there was a young girl in the room next door. She was pure, delicate. Her name was Edith Little. They talked for months about Edith's sisters, her favorite ring, etc. The man wants to protect Edith's innocence. But while there's so much degeneracy outside the walls of the mental ward, it was too dangerous for her to go outside. So he had to make sure the world wouldn't corrupt her. So yeah, the Violence Demon Victoria film is about the real Victoria. In the original Black Souls, Victoria was said to be a fake, which explains why she didn't remember us. It also explains why she killed us like she did. She's a succubus, but with a great deal of bloodlust which can't be satiated. The Isolation Room's neighbor was about Jack the Ripper. He decided to kill prostitutes in Lowood in order to rid the city of its degeneracy so that one day the young girl Edith could walk the streets without becoming corrupted by it. Edith was the name of the boss of the mental ward, and Jack the Ripper was the boss of Ludwig Town. I wonder what Jack would have said had I been wearing Edith's ring when I fought him. I'll have to try that next time if I remember. Also, Edith Little? Is she related to Alice? Why is she in Wonderland? And she said that she had sisters, plural, meaning that there's at least one more. I wonder who that is. After escorting Prickett back to her room, I went one room over from hers and fought a duo of bosses. Here, I summoned Daddy Longlegs so I could get his fairy tale. After the fight, I continued down to... the fairy tale? Leaf? Why does Prickett have you locked away here? She told me to come rescue her, so I opened the door to her cell and ran away. But then decided I would let her out in case she knew where Alice was. She immediately tried running away herself, but was blocked by an invisible barrier. After a short conversation, she gives me her ring, but I'm afraid of wearing it after what happened in the last game. I ended up making love to her. I hate her, but her story isn't over yet. Yet being the opportune word. Oh, also her name is Mary Ann now for some reason. After this, there was only one other area I still needed to check out that I knew of, the Carroll River. Skipping a lot of the details, I found the Black Rabbit Knight Verni from the beginning of the game. He apparently nearly died to a demon beast on this bridge. I thought about finishing him off, but decided against it. Is he the Black Rabbit from the Tea Party of 3 movie? I wasn't sure. Regardless, his storyline doesn't need to end here, so I summoned Petrosh for the boss and went on ahead. After the fight, I continued forward. The BGM suddenly changed to the BGM from the beginning of the game, where I had my picnic with Alice. There's also a fog wall here and a summon circle. I could summon the Black Rabbit Verni to this fight, so I did. Passing through the fog wall, I finally found Alice. Until she flashed me and turned into an older woman, the Corpse Dragon Jabberwock. Instead of fighting her like I did with Jubjub and Bandersnatch, I was immediately allowed to covenant her. So I did, and then left. Sorry, Verni, not killing anyone today. During my exploration of Carroll River, I did see that there was a part of the slaughterhouse I still hadn't been to. I teleported to the bonfire there and finished it as well. Afterwards, I went back to the mental ward and bought some prescription drugs. While here, I went back to the tween's room, but, they're dead still, and then I decided to see if I could find any treasure that I missed when I was here my first time. I only just now realized how these doors worked in this area, and I figured that there was probably something I missed. Lo and behold, I actually did find something at the very end of the mental ward. The witch's house. Dorothy? I'm so sorry, Dorothy. I'm sorry I couldn't save any of you in the end. The witch's house vanishes and I'm left in its ruins. I obtained the fairy tale Wizard of Oz and a couple of int-build items. After that soul-crushing moment, I decided it was time to clean up all loose ends and beat the game. Or at least this route of the game. I know I missed a lot, but this was a completely blind playthrough, so that's to be expected. I know some of you watching have probably been screaming at me this entire time, but I mean, can you blame me? However, before I did that, I decided to check up on every NPC that I knew was still alive one last time. When I went back to Lorina, she wanted to play strip poker with me. She got angry at me for losing, so I got revenge on her, and then I made love to her. That said, during our cardio workout, there was another glitch effect like when I was going to Edith's boss room. That's the only other place I remember that happening at. I still have no idea what it's about. After that, I had nothing else to do that I knew of. So there was only one place that I really could go to. That's right, I'm going to Alice. I went through the door at the top of the library, spoke to the Cheshire Cat again, and proceeded to Alice. The demon beast from earlier, who was obviously the Cheshire Cat, shows up. I battled with her to finally rescue my darling sister Alice. I made love to my unbearably attractive little sister Alice. I will never again be apart from Alice. But where is Alice? Thank you for watching this video, everyone. There's a lot that I missed and other things that I only noticed after watching through all my footage, but because this is meant to be a stereotypical blind playthrough of Black Souls 2, I decided to leave my comments about all of that out. At this point in my Black Souls 2 ventures, I was just confused. Why does this game have a fanatical fan base? I mean, I enjoyed it, but at this point, I couldn't see why so many people were so gung-ho about it. Honestly, I don't think it was until my low sen playthrough that I actually started to understand why, and then it was the DLC that really sealed the deal for me. Unfortunately, we're not covering those in this video. The next video will be the 100% high sen Black Souls 2 experience. I had two friends watching me stream it and they would give me directions on where to go, but still refrain from spoiling anything. More of a go to this place first and then go to that place second. Also, here's the NPCs that you missed, such as talking to Dodo again to get her sprint ability that would have cut down on time substantially. Unfortunately, I failed to save anyone and she died before I ever spoke to her again. Yeah, we'll be covering that in the next video. Though the way I did it was a bit weird. Something you would typically do in a high sen playthrough I ended up doing in my low sen playthrough, but luckily it didn't end up being that huge of a problem. You'll understand when I release the next video. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this video and look forward to the next one. Remember to like, comment, and Alice.